I'm really glad to see all of you today. Um, we have a special guest, um, Satya Deep, who is a principal scientist, and I say that with the with the hint of a congratulatory note here, um, due to his new but well deserved promotion. Um, and Satya Deep has been working on Franklin for quite some time. I think for more than a year now, right? So and not just in various customer projects, but also working on direct integration between Adobe Experience Manager assets and Edge Delivery Services, or Edge Delivery Services in Adobe Experience Manager sites as a cloud service with document-based editing, to be specific. So, Satya, um, great to have you here. Can you add a couple more words of introduction to yourself?
Absolutely. Thanks, Lars, for the great introduction. I can add a couple of lines. I have been with Adobe for the past 15 years now, of which 10 years have been with AEM, primarily been focusing on AEM assets. Overall, in software industry, I've been for the past 20 years now, a bit less than 20 years. So yeah, that's what I have been doing till now. And I'm very excited about the work that is happening in edge delivery services. I myself have been part of it for the past 1.5 year now. Have been leading a few customer projects, and yeah, it's a great learning experience, a great journey up to now. Yep. So that's about myself, and today I'm here to talk about experience manager assets integration that me and my team have been working on. And I can begin with starting
Yeah,
to share my screen, perhaps.
let's dive right into the demo.
Sure.
Okay.
I- Is my screen visible?
Yes.
Okay. Thank you. So let me try to set the context first. So usually, when you are working on while you're authoring sites in EDS, so assets, digital assets as such as images, videos, documents, if they're the brochures, something along those lines, if they also form a vital part of the whole digital experience, the website itself. And EDS provides a very convenient way of doing this. You can simply go ahead and select images, put them in the Word document, and just works out of the box. Very simple to use. Alongside that, while working with some of our VIP customers, I've heard about requirements where they already have their assets in some sort of digital asset management system, usually AEM DAM, but I've heard about others also. So with that requirement in mind, we thought of bridging that gap, providing a way of conveniently using your AEM assets while you are authoring your sites using ADS, using the document-based authoring tool. Uh, so I'm not sure how many of you know about AEM assets, but in a nutshell, it's a digital asset management solution, and a pretty sophisticated one in that sense. It has a lot of functionality around asset processing and doing things like machine AI-based metadata additions and so on and so forth. So when I talk about digital asset management system, there are a few personas as such, which come into play. So I'll begin with the journey of how an digital asset starts off with. So typically, there's a creative who would create the asset, maybe using tools such as Photoshop or Adobe, any of the Adobe tools, Express maybe. And then the DAM librarian, we call them DAM librarian, but a person who is responsible for putting those assets in a digital asset management system. So since I'm talking with context of AEM assets, so the screen which I'm sharing is the AEM assets interface where the DAM librarian has uploaded a few assets. As you'd see, I've taken for reference some images from Sunstar. So Sunstar is one of our customers who plans to use this integration. So just to have a more realistic context, I'm
Mm-hmm.
just taking them as an example. So they have these assets uploaded, and the DAM librarian does that. Once it is there in the digital asset management system, there may be a use case where there is a brand manager who is responsible for approving those assets for usage. So if though it's an optional thing, but I've heard situations where it is needed. So typically, once the assets have been uploaded, the brand manager would come into play and they would go ahead and choose those assets and approve it for usage. And as you'd see, I've already approved these assets. So you see the approved icon in over here. So this is about um,
What
AEM
does
assets.
what does approving look like? Could you just upload a
Just
new asset and we go through the entire flow?
sure, I can do that, Lars. Uh, let me step into the shoes of our asset librarian. So what I'll do is I'll say add assets, and I can browse. I think I have a few stock photos. Let's say these.
Okay.
So I have marked them for upload, and they are uploaded now. The processing flow has kicked in, and the processing flow basically takes the image through various asset processing phases, which includes metadata,
Mm-hmm.
enrichment, smart tags addition, so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So we have these, and so now let me step into the shoes of a brand manager, and let's say I like these two assets. I'll go ahead and go to bulk metadata edit and say approved, and they are marked as approved.
Okay. Very nice.
Yeah. So once this is done, let me come to the second tab. This tab is, we call it the asset selector. So asset selector is a surface wherein anybody can view the approved assets. So this is my portal for viewing all the approved assets. So if I approved a few assets here, I can view them here. So now let me step into the shoes of a website author. So now I'm going to author a website, and I need to know which all assets are there which are approved and I can use in my website. So I'd come over here. This is the asset selector. Asset selector has a lot of good functionality. You can do things like you can apply filters, select MIME types. You can do search. Let's say if I only wanted videos to appear in over here, so I can unselect everything, and it should
Mm-hmm.
show up the videos. And I can do search and all. So, but still, this asset selector, this opens up in a separate tab. So one of the things that we wanted to do is for site authors, provide them an experience in which they need not go across tabs. Of course, they can do this if they want to, open this in a new tab. But with the asset selector plugin, let me come to now a Word document where I'm authoring my website, a web page. So if you see in the Sidekick, there is this My Assets button. So this is one way of integrating it, wherein I have configured the Sidekick and added a button to it. This button essentially opens up the same asset selector, but in a palette. The other way could be that I open it up in a new tab. just as you saw. So it depends totally on the requirement, the way you would
Okay.
want to use it. So as you would see, we have the same approved assets over here. What I can do is see, let's try to use some images from here. So I will select JPG, PNG, TIFF, and we get a few images. The only thing I need to do, I click on it, it says copying, and it should copy. Oh, it, that shouldn't have happened. Let me try with another asset. Okay, this one is copied. I probably know the reason, but uh, why the first one didn't. Uh, but let me talk about this one which got copied. So what happens in over here? Here you're seeing the thumbnails, but in the digital asset management system, you not only have the thumbnails but have other renditions for the asset. So behind the scenes, what we are doing is when you click on an image, it figures out which is the best rendition. Usually, it is the highest resolution one, um, and then we use that, copy it to the clipboard, and then I can go to the Word document and paste it over here. And let me close this for now. You see this image is pasted in over here.
Yep.
From here on, the flow is same as the typical flow which is there, wherein you have your assets, you copy them over, you find them out from somewhere and copy them to the Word document. So this is now in the embedded in the Word document. I can hit on save and click preview. So this page should start showing up that asset. Let me reload it once. Yeah, now I should.
Word is sometimes a bit lazy in saving.
Yes, I think I should have force saved it. But yeah, now this asset is here. And yeah, so this is the image copy flow which I talked about. This is something which is already done and it is available for use. So there is a document on the EDS side which details the steps which I just went through, how to use it.
And
So exactly the same steps.
yeah, and
Uh,
Satya,
Yep,
just have to interrupt really quickly. When
sure.
you're saying EDS, what you mean is not the Ehlers-Danlos syndrome, but you mean Edge Delivery Services in Adobe Experience Manager sites with document-based editing. And for some reason, our branding thought it was cool to give the product a name that is incredibly uh, that is begging to be turned into an acronym, and at the same time saying you should never turn it into an acronym. So Edge Delivery Services with document-based authoring in Adobe Experience Manager sites as a cloud service. That's what we like to say.
Yeah,
Yep.
thanks, Lars, for correcting me. I keep on forgetting this. It's a bit of a mouthful, but yeah,
Yep.
that's right. Edge delivery services
Yeah.
is the full form of it.
Right.
Yep. So we have this already available for use. This is the document. I'll share the link to it. And if I go to the configuration part, uh, again, it's the only thing that you need to do is configure your Sidekick. So if you already have a Sidekick configuration present, you can go ahead and add this entry in over there, which results in that My Assets button appearing in the Sidekick.
Mm-hmm.
And the URL is the asset selector URL, which
Right.
I talked about. So, and this, and if you don't have a Sidekick configuration already, probably what you need to do is create a new configuration, which means you go to your GitHub repository, create a folder tool Sidekick, that a file config.json, and add the configuration. There's already a document for configuring the Sidekick, so that can be used as a starting point, and subsequently this configuration can be added
Yeah.
to it.
So Satya, looking at the
Yes.
configuration example, if I would set is palette to false, I would assume that this is how you get it to open in a new tab instead of in a palette, which can be
Right. Yes.
useful when you're dealing with smaller screens. The include paths here is for docx. What does that mean for Google Docs if you're using Google Docs?
Yeah, that's a good one, and probably I'm not sure docx if it works with Google, because the example has always been set in SharePoint context, but
Okay,
yeah, but environments edit always opens up in edit context.
right,
That's that ensures that this button doesn't end up showing up in the pages on the live and page domains,
right.
only in edit environments. But yeah, include paths probably, if there's a different for Google, then it can be updated to include that
Yeah,
as well.
yeah. No, and the environment setting is really important. I had a discussion with the
Yes,
product manager last week, who was so in love with the feature that they come up with, that they wanted it to show up not just in the edit environment but also in the preview environment and in the publish environment. Although
okay,
um, it didn't apply to either of these environments, um, so this is, yep, you should restrict things to the context where they make sense, right? And the only place where somebody
exactly,
would inject an image is while they're editing, not while they're previewing um, or, or looking at the published side.
exactly. Yeah, yeah. That's why this if I open up the preview page, that button is not there.
Right.
That's simply because that configuration being present. So this is the part which is already there. I also wanted to touch upon a bit on some of the new things which are in progress, not yet there, but they are interesting nevertheless.
So
One of Yep,
Satya,
Raj,
before we do this, can we
sure.
have a quick look at the generated URL for that image, because I think that's a really interesting. So
Of course.
if you would just view the source of this or inspect it, um, I think that's really instructive. So the thing that happens here, right, is that we are actually delivering the image through edge delivery services, right? So it's all through edge delivery services, and Adobe Experience Manager has sites, to be specific. So it's not coming from a separate host. It's coming from the same. It's coming from the same origin, which is really important if you want to use one of these images as part of the largest contentful paint, because this is where you really don't have the time to connect to a separate host. And if you look at the URL, it's the if you've been coding a bit with edge delivery services, you probably have seen our URL patterns. So it's media underscore and then 41. No, I think it's media underscore and 40 characters of hash code. So this is a content addressable URL, which also means that it's incredibly cacheable, so it's immutable. And if the same image gets published twice in two locations, we really only store it once. So it's also very storage efficient.
Yes.
Yeah. So the thing that it doesn't do, right? So if Satya, if you would now go back into AM assets and would update the image, right? Maybe um, make a change
Yeah,
here,
I
and we
yes.
would probably have to find the image again. Um,
No,
the important thing is that the changes you're making in AEM assets don't make it through to the published site unless you re-add and republish the image, right? So it's not just referencing it; it's actually copying it, as we've seen earlier.
Right. Yep. Yep. I could have potentially done that, updated this image, but uh, updating that image and approving it has takes some time for the if I were using a reference URL instead of the URL Lars just talked about. So in that case, the image which is served by that URL would get updated, which it would be the one which is there, the updated one which is in AEM.
Right.
But since I'm using a media hash URL, so it would continue to remain the same because I'm using a copy of the image asset over here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, Satya, can you tell me a bit about adoption of this feature? How many customer projects um, are using this already?
Yeah, we have Sunstar. This is configured in Sunstar. Then Volvo is has also configured it, and I think their authors have started using it.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't exactly know how much it's in the evaluation phase. They are taking a look at it, and then we of course have it for our internal the weekend site which we
Right.
use for demos. Adobe GMO is again another example that comes to my mind.
Mm-hmm.
And I think there may be a couple more. I remember there are a couple more who are using. I think there is one Macquarie Help Center.
Okay.
They also have this setup. So yeah, it is in a phase where it's very new, as you'd see in the document. It has been called out as early access technology. Still very new. We are very actively looking for feedback on this. How do the page authors feel using it? How much value does it have? So
Right.
these are some of the examples, Lars,
Right.
that are there.
Yeah. Excellent. Okay. So you mentioned a couple of things that are in the works and that are coming. Please tell me about them.
Absolutely, yeah, I can talk about them. So we saw about images. So images are, of course, the most common digital asset used across pages, but then there are also videos usually which are used, and then some of the sites also have other digital assets, usually PDFs,
Mm-hmm.
which, for example, if you have lot of brochures on your site or news articles, downloadable news articles sort of
Right.
thing. So yeah, so those are a few other asset types. So we are working on taking this beyond just being limited to images to other asset types. Of course, you can, there's the out of the box path where you can simply upload videos in SharePoint and use them. Also, PDFs are supported, and that is the easiest and the simplest one to use.
Right.
Uh, yeah, and the most efficient. But if the videos are sort of long form videos, uh, uh, I remember an example where one of the customers had a 1 hour long video. It was some training video, something. So
Yeah.
for such sort of use cases, we are working on using it via the AEM assets integration. So I can briefly show what work has been done on it. How
Yeah.
does it work? So if I go back to
And
my Word document,
and
yes,
Satya, sorry to interrupt. One word on videos is that the video support that we've built into Edge delivery services is really for, as you mentioned, for small videos, right? So we have an explicit size limit there, so that you don't end up publishing this 1 hour long um, 1 hour long 60 gigabyte recording of, let's say, um, a Friday frequency, um, which is which is coincidentally just the size of Friday's recording, right? But that instead you would use some other platform for this, and then link it. And I think having a way of doing this and basically just delivering the hero image or delivering the, what do you call it, the poster frame through edge delivery services is really giving you the best of both worlds, right? You have a dedicated system for delivering videos and streaming it, and on the other hand, you still have the fast LCP that you get, because the thing that, right, unless you want to autoplay a video, and I think nobody appreciates a 60 gigabyte autoplaying video on a website. Well, unless the website is Netflix, um, then then this is really good. This is really good combination. So
Yes. Yeah, Lars, that's very true. And there's one way you could do it is use YouTube maybe. If you have long videos, upload them to YouTube, have a public URL
yep.
and embed that. Uh, can be done, so works for some cases, though I have seen some cases where for first, the YouTube embedded player itself is a bit heavy. So if you have it above the fold, it could have an adverse impact. So typically, if you have such videos, have it
Yep.
somewhere below the fold. And then, as you said, having the poster image uh, helps so that doesn't end up loading the player
Right.
till it is actually needed to be on the page.
Yep.
So the other thing with YouTube is that it also has an experience where once the video ends, it may show up other suggestions and all, which depends on your YouTube browsing history. You may or may not want it. So
Mm-hmm.
so that is also sometimes undesirable
Right.
in some of the cases. So I was talking about videos. So I come back to the Word document which is here, and if I open up my selector again, the Sidekick plugin, and I can unselect everything, choose videos. So you won't see it in the, if you configure it, you won't see it because this is not yet out, released. But here you see videos and PDF documents. So I have some videos appearing in over here. Let me choose one video. So it immediately says copied because we are just copying the reference URL for that
Mm-hmm.
video. And let me again close the Sidekick and paste it here. So what it essentially does is it adds an embed block,
Right.
and the embed block has the video URL.
Mm-hmm.
And if I were to inspect it, this is the URL of the video, which
Right.
now in this case is a reference URL
Mm-hmm.
to the assets delivery system. So if I were to upload a video in AEM assets, mark it as approved. So assets delivery uh, has this support for delivering videos in
Right.
web optimized formats. So this is the URL is exactly for that.
And Satya, I'm not familiar with that URL format. Is that also protected by a CDN, or is that going straight to the dispatcher?
It is fronted by a CDN.
Okay.
It is.
Excellent.
Yes. So
Want
it
to
is using the, as I mentioned, it's using the asset delivery system. The asset delivery system has a CDN layer, which so all requests actually hit the CDN first, and if it is found there, are fetched from there.
Excellent.
Yes.
I think there was a
I
question
have
from Ina.
mm, yeah, exactly. So as you showed that for videos, it's possible to just use a reference. Is it also possible for images? Because maybe I don't want to copy it. I want to use the reference to be able to reuse it on multiple pages and have it in one cache.
So I I can I can share my viewpoint on this. So if you had an image, right? So the thing difference between images and other asset types is Word provides this facility of embedding images. So for videos, it comes with an implicit limitation that I cannot embed videos in a Word document, but images I can. but beyond that, if let's say if I had a hero image or maybe a logo image which I am using across pages, one way could be I could potentially make it as a fragment and use that fragment across pages. And if I were to update the image in that fragment, so then it should automatically update across pages. One way of doing it, but images usually when served from the same domain. So as we saw on that web page, it is served from the same domain, which doesn't require the browser to make an additional connection, new TLS handshake with a different domain. So that helps with the page performance for sure. So having image served from the same domain. So yeah.
But if it's reused on a different page, it's not cached anymore in your browser already.
Ina, the image URL is actually the same, right? Because well, is the same as long as the page embedding it is in the same folder. So if we go back, Satya, if you could open the tab that is 2 to the right. No, one more. This one.
Yeah, but it's
right. So
does it appear that it's in the same folder at the end? I think having the chance to use it as a reference would be amazing, because then all the benefits of also managing the assets and updating, as you already said before, and removing it because it's outdated, so license is outdated and things like that. So things which you are used to use within real asset management are removed. So you're only using it then to find the assets, and then you copy paste it. So it would be just saying it would be nice
Yeah.
to also be able to use it referenced.
Yeah. So I hear you. The let's address this step by step, right? So the first priority for us really is about site
Making it
performance, right? And that's the guiding constraint for us. And that means given that the average session length of a visitor on our sites is less than 2 pages, right? Optimizing for the second page load is not as important as optimizing for the first one, right? So that's number one. Number two is that we are absolutely looking at the ability to do this this referencing that you mentioned, right? With automated updates, but the way we work is that we do this through joint customer projects, VIP projects, right? So depending on the customer needs and depending on the customer usage, this is probably something that that will come, and it's definitely something that we've been thinking about and that Satya and I have been discussing for many months.
Yeah, just thought because if it's already implemented for videos, then you just need the switch for the images that it's also possible.
No, wait. There's a big difference here, which is the video is being delivered from a separate host, right? It's coming from. It's not coming from. It's not coming from from the same origin, and
Yep.
that makes that means there is going to be a small penalty in loading that image or loading that video. The thing is, if the video is big anyway, right, that penalty percentage wise, the penalty is not a big part of it. However, for images, we cannot expect the authors to know if an image is part of LCP or is not part of LCP, because for LCP it's not safe to load it from a separate origin. For anything that is lazy loaded, it's completely fine to do this, right? But for hero images, for anything that's LCP critical, we absolutely cannot afford to do this, and this is why the copy based approach is the most robust one in terms of performance.
Okay. But great to
Yep.
hear that you're thinking about it and that it's not something
Yeah.
totally out of scope.
No, it's one of the things that makes Adobe Experience Manager Assets as a product unique in the digital asset management space, right? Is this
Yeah.
deep integration it has with Adobe Experience Manager sites. And you could argue that that the integration that we are seeing here right now is something that is essentially an integration that you could achieve with any digital asset management system, right?
Exactly. So
Which
you're
is
losing the benefits at the end,
it's
many benefits of an AM asset.
yeah, which is from from a perspective of edge delivery services for sites, that's not a bad thing, right? Because we are very unopinionated where the content is coming from, right? We take it from Google, we take it from Word, we take it from any source that is able to generate the right HTML, and that also means that integrating other digital asset management systems would be absolutely possible, right? For somebody who is used the deep integration between assets and sites, this might feel like a step back, but I think it's only a temporary one. And as we get the right usage, and as we get the right VIP projects, this functionality is either going to come or is going to turn out not to be that relevant for authors in the end.
Okay, so you're pressuring us to find a customer who needs this. Got it.
I'm never pressuring anyone, but let's say as a recovering product manager, I think it's really important that we focus on things that get actual use, um, instead of just doing things that look good in in a product brochure.
Got you.
Yep.
I
Yep.
would also have a question.
Yeah.
Yeah, Lars, I might. So we have one customer, it's a media company,
Right.
and we've been trying to even start pitching to them edge delivery services.
Right.
And these kind of things are actually for us are a blocker, right?
Okay.
Because they have vast amounts of assets, metadata that need to go on pages. They don't want to author it on every page again where they use it. So
Right.
if they update an image in the asset, they should update on the site. So those use cases seem to block me from feeling comfortable to go to the customer
Okay.
to actually pitch EDA,
Okay.
edge
So
delivery services.
um,
Or, you know.
so the thing that I would look at is you can overcome these LCP limitations by stitching together two origins in the CDN, right? And
It's not that, sorry.
no,
It's not the LCP, that's not the problem,
okay,
actually. The problem is more the metadata from assets not being on the page, or
okay,
if because it's a copy of the images, right? Those are the biggest issues that we're having.
okay,
The that A, they want the fidelity of seeing the image in the document, and B, they actually they want the metadata to live in assets.
okay. So
Right? So that's the biggest issue.
yeah,
And I'm not sure the thing we're doing is basically wait on Universal Editor, whether that's the place where we can stitch this together the right way, or whether
and
yeah.
I would actually have to ask Satya about this. So
Yeah.
Satya, looking at the configuration options for the asset selector, would it be possible to on the one hand configure it so that it always returns an basically a reference URL, maybe decorated with a block instead of having this, and I don't know if it's hard coded or this behavior, right, that images are coming out as a block,
Yeah.
sorry, that images are coming out as copied images and videos are coming out as a block, because I could imagine, right, even having images coming out as a block, and then we would still need to talk about how is the metadata being published, right? Is there a metadata JSON that you could fetch, and in that case, you would have the ability to essentially have a
Yeah, yeah,
I don't want to call it smart image because that's already an overloaded term. Let's say image with metadata block that would allow taking the image from edge delivery services for experience manager assets and also fetching the metadata and presenting it on the page in the right way.
yeah, yeah. So that is absolutely doable. Uh, the thing is, uh, so as we saw, this video for videos, this is already done. So it's basically what we want to do when the author chooses an asset. For images, we choose to copy the asset to the clipboard and then paste it on the Word document. For videos or other asset types, we choose to make it a block.
Okay.
And it could be done the other way, of course. And uh, the asset selector, which we saw over here, so this is showing image thumbnails, but behind the scenes, it has access to all the image metadata as well. So it's matter of what all you would want besides the image. We have the renditions, thumbnails, metadata, so on and so forth. And you could pull in whatever you would want and put it in any sort of block or format or whatever on clipboard and just paste it. The thing is, which I have on top of my mind is taking a phased approach over here. Solve the basic things first, wherein the users, the authors have access to the assets in AEM. They can search, browse, copy, and use it, and then get their feedback, and then iterate forward. As like this is very good feedback, which we hear that there is a requirement where there might be metadata which is needed. So this is exactly the type of feedback which we are seeking uh, to 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 iterate upon this and decide what features make sense to build in the next phases, what features are not useful and should be taken away, pulled down.
So
So
my
yeah,
excellent. So my next question would be, Satya, do you know Ruben? And Ruben, do you know Satya? And do you know how to connect on Slack? Because if not, then I'm going to make the introduction right after this call wraps up. Because I think
Right,
we
not Discord. I think, but the problem is bigger, right? The problem is that even if you copy a block for images, I still would like to see a real preview in the document. I think
yeah.
that's where the missing part is right
yeah
now,
yeah
right?
I
and I think the live preview, right? That is not just that is a reference and that has a preview of the image is probably something that we will never get to, right? Simply because of the way, well, never say never, right? Because Word might come with an awesome extensibility API for this, but um, I think having at least a thumbnail preview for the author is going to make things a bit easier. Absolutely. However, we have to deal with the we have to see how much of an issue this natural drift is going to be, right? Typically assets don't get updated so frequently, right? But sometimes you might end up in a situation where the thumbnail is no longer representative of the newer version of the asset, and where just copying a thumbnail might not be the right move, but we can
Uh,
figure that out.
it's even asset metadata that you want to locally override or use the defaults and stuff like that, right?
Yeah.
So, but yeah,
Yeah. Okay.
happy to connect, Satya.
Okay.
Yes, yeah. And incidentally, since we are discussing this, I remember there is a blog. If you know about Blog Party, so it has a collection of some examples. There is one of the examples which is very similar to what Lars was discussing about. So you could potentially have an image followed by some sort of placeholder which indicates its reference URL, and then there is the front end code which is taking care of that. Okay, look at this this reference URL, serve the image from there. Uh, so the different ways of doing it. The problem is exactly that how do these key things keep in sync? Maybe have some sort of a true up in the Word documents that you click on the true up, it refreshes the images and brings whatever is their latest. And I mean, there are different ways of doing it. It's a matter of what exactly the requirement is to fulfill it. So let me get back to, I was at this point wherein I chose a video, and this adds an embed block. So once this is here, if I would click on preview, so this time it should uh, open up the video from a reference URL. So let's wait for it to load. Okay. Maybe the video which I chose isn't a good one. Let's try with another one. Let's take this one. So as you'd see, I'm using a QA instance for this demo, and QA instance, as you know, there are things which keep on changing. There are people behind the scenes who are also working on this instance, so things may be changing without my knowledge. So I have this video added here. I'll click on preview. Let's see, did it refresh? Open the Sidekick. Okay, this video. Yeah.
That looks better.
So we have this video now. The reason I wanted to show this is I would open the network tab, and if I play it, so you'd see it is making requests to manifest, which indicates that this is being streamed through adaptive bitrate streaming. So asset delivery does have support for adaptive bitrate. The second thing to observe is that you see URL like delivery pxxeyy, which is indicating that this is being delivered from a different domain, different from the one you see in the browser. So different domain delivering the video through adaptive bitrate streaming. If I were to go ahead and change my network settings, so it should dynamically update to a lower bitrate based video. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, Lars, you had something to say? Okay. And the last part is we also added support for PDFs for now. There are other asset types planned, but PDFs get added in a slightly different way. If I went to MIME types, I'll select PDFs in over here. So I paste it here. This doesn't get added as a block. It just gets added as a plain link. And if I were to again inspect this, the URL would be that of the asset delivery system. Rest all remains same. Now it is a typical URL, and on the page, it would show up as a button. I already had added one, so this is like one over here. If I click on this, this opens up the PDF, and again you see that this is from a different domain. So here probably it doesn't matter because PDFs generally are brochures or something which open up in a new tab. So probably to have it from a different domain being served over here.
Nobody wants to use a PDF as a background image.
Yeah.
I think Acrobat, they provide kind of a little PDF viewer that you can embed in page.
Yeah. Yeah. The funny thing about this is these days all the browsers have built-in PDF viewers, right? And they're native, so this is the Chrome one. There's not the Acrobat plugin of your that would take a minute to boot up, which means if you want to embed if you want to embed an image, a PDF into a web page, it's completely viable to just have an iframe pointing to that PDF, and it will use the browser's PDF viewer, which is either the built-in in Chrome or it's preview in Safari, and it's completely fine. So
Yeah.
So thanks for the acrobat.com team for building this online viewer, but in a lot of cases you don't need it, right? Because PDF, fortunately, thanks to being an open standard, is well supported in browsers out of the box. Unless you do some of the really fancy stuff you can do in PDF, which I think, yeah. But
Yeah.
So you can imagine
but
using,
don't
for
ask me
example,
what
an
that is.
iframe, I don't know, like for terms and condition, and then you just have an iframe that you can scroll, and then you have like
Exactly.
the accept button on the page.
Yes. For example, a PDF link could as well be embedded in an embed block, and the embed block by default injects an iframe, and then the URL can be then the iframe. It probably would be a custom specific implementation of how do you want to handle the embed block containing PDF links. So uh, that could be governed by the requirements. Besides PDF, I have also heard instances where there are even PPTs or Excel spreadsheets on sites. Though I am sure those are not web recommended formats to have on your site, but still there have been cases like this. And for this, probably this flow may help, or wherein you have the Excel or PPT or whatever asset type you have from since these are all supported in AEM assets as standard asset types. So it could be another use case where AEM assets based delivery can be used for at least for those asset types which are not the common ones which are used on web.
Yeah. Perfect. Okay, I think we have time for one more question before we wrap up. So, well, if we don't have any questions, then all I have to do is to say thank you to Satya for joining us today and for presenting how assets works with edge delivery services. Thanks everyone else for dialing in, for asking questions. We really appreciate having you part of the community. And the last frequency of this year is going to be on December 21st. Is that 4 p.m. UTC? So that's 5 p.m. Central European time for us.
I think it's 1 hour later.
Oh, it's 1 hour later, so it's 6 p.m. But in doubt, you can look it up on Discord. We have always the little events counter there, and we are also Dominic and I are also working on a better calendaring support for the community page, so that at some point you might even be able to subscribe to an ICS calendar with all of the events, so you never miss one. Anyway, it was great to see you. Hope to see you next Thursday, and if I don't, then I'm already wishing you a happy new year and looking forward to seeing the sites you're going to launch next year. Thanks everyone. Bye bye.